What is a Roth IRA? Why do I need one? And how do I actually get one? Hey everyone, I'm Sammy Womack from A Sunny Side Up Life, and in today's video, I am going to be answering these questions and more as we dig into exactly what an IRA is, how to set one up, and all of your other burning questions. First of all, what is an IRA? An IRA, by definition, is an individual retirement account. So maybe you're familiar with the term IRA, but sometimes you've heard Roth IRA and sometimes you've heard traditional IRA. So what are the differences? So with a Roth IRA, contributions are made with after-tax money. And you can withdraw your contributions penalty-free, not the growth, but the actual contributions themselves. This is a better choice if your tax rate will be higher at retirement than it currently is. For a traditional IRA, on the other hand, funds are not taxed until you actually withdraw the money, which is why we call them tax deferred. And with these, there is a 10% penalty if you withdraw early. This is a better choice if your tax rate will be lower at retirement. So if you're still not exactly sure which one is better for you, make sure to do a little bit more research, dig into the specifics so you can make the best decision for your family. I found this great website that actually breaks all of this down. I can link to this in the description of this video, Investopedia, where it is actually going to break down all of these specifics for you. The contribution, no matter which one you pick, is going to be $6,000 per year if you are under 50 years old, $7,000 per year if you are over 50. And the great thing is that the deadline for contributions aren't necessarily a calendar year. They're actually from when you file your income tax until the next year when you file them. So sometimes that'll give you a couple more months to contribute and try to max them out if you can. There are also income limits on the Roth IRA, which is why some people don't contribute to the Roth and they choose the traditional. So there are different limits based on if you file your taxes married filing jointly, single head of household, or married filing separately. So make sure to look up the different limits because they do change from year to year. How does this differ from your typical 401k or 403b? These exist outside of your employer. They don't choose the options for you. This is completely up to you, which is half freedom and half a little bit intimidating. So how is this different than actual individual stocks? So an IRA is actually just a bucket. You can actually go inside and choose the specific option. So you can have an IRA that exists. Here's your bucket. Inside, you can fill it with bonds. You can fill it with Tesla stock. You can fill it with an index fund that is the entire stock market. You get to choose what you fill the bucket up with. The bucket itself helps you decide how you want to pay taxes on those investments. Is a Roth IRA better than a high yield savings account? Actually, they're two completely separate things. I think that a high yield savings account is where you should keep your emergency fund and where you should save up when you're cash flowing like a vehicle or saving for a down payment on a house. The IRAs are for retirement. In fact, you can't withdraw from them until you are 59 and a half without paying penalties. Of course, with the Roth, you can withdraw strictly your contributions, but not the growth. With the traditional, you can't touch any of it until you're 59 and a half without paying 10% penalty. So this is not where you want to keep your emergency fund. This is strictly for retirement or for life after you're 60 years old. What order should you contribute to all these things? So say you have a 401k or a 403b and you also want an IRA. Which one should you do first? First of all, everyone's investing journey is completely unique and completely your own. It depends on what your long-term goals are. So if you are interested in this, make sure that you do research even more than outside of just this one video. But for us personally, what we do is that we contribute to our 401k up to our employer match because that's basically free money, right? And then our next goal is to max out our IRAs. And my husband and myself each have an IRA, so that's $6,000 each that we could max out. Then we're gonna go back and try to max out our 401k. The max on that is $19,500, so we're probably not gonna be able to reach that, but that would be the order of priority. And of course, this is for investing for retirement alone. This is completely outside of our emergency fund, which we already have set aside. So where do you go to actually set up these IRAs, right? So there are tons of brokers out there. The most popular and the most well-loved in the debt-free community and the FIRE community would either be Vanguard or Fidelity. Personally, I wanted to kind of get a taste for both. And my husband's 401k was already through Fidelity. So I was like, hey, his IRA is through them, and I'm going to open up my IRA through Vanguard just to kind of not put all of our eggs in one basket. So now I want to take you actually inside of how to set up one of these accounts for yourself. It actually is not overwhelming. It's basically just as simple as setting up a new checking account or a new savings account. So first of all, you'll pick which broker you want to go through. You'll find open an account. Then you'll decide if you're choosing to roll over an IRA, which is maybe where you quit your old job, you have some lingering retirement money that you want to roll into an IRA, or do you want to go with a traditional or a Roth? Then it's a lot of the basic stuff of setting up any bank account. You're going through, you're entering your personal contact information. You're saying that you agree to their terms and conditions. You're telling them which bank account you want to connect. And you can even go through and set up automatic contributions, which I highly recommend. Just put them in your budget as a regular bill, say it's due on the 1st or whatever day you get paid. Once you actually have the account set up, then you have to go in and tell the website where you actually want that money to be invested in.
Remember, the IRA itself is simply a bucket. Transferring the funds from your regular bank account into your IRA is not actually investing it. You have to take it the next step further and actually invest the money. So when you first transfer the money in, it's going to sit in a reserve cash account or a money market account, which does not earn you money. So the next step is to actually choose your investment.
And I think this is the step that actually scares people, because you are deciding, what do I want this to be invested in? The cool thing is that there are a lot of robo-advisors. There are different options where you can pay a little bit higher fees, and Fidelity or Vanguard or whoever you choose will actually help you select them.
Or if you would rather choose and manage your own investments, you can select that option. Of course, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of options that you could choose from this point, which you'll see in just a second. But I think the two most simple options would be either selecting a total stock market index fund, which is basically a fund that includes little pieces of every single bit of the stock market. Or you could choose a target date retirement fund. Let's talk about those a little bit more.
Basically, what it'll do is it'll kind of manage it for you. Again, the fees are going to be a little bit higher than if you did it yourself. But what you can do is you can go in and pick roughly the year that you want to retire. It'll give you a good variety of things to be invested in. And the closer that you get to retirement, it'll automatically make the investment safer and safer and safer as you get closer to that retirement year. This is what I did for my husband's IRA because I was a little nervous to get started. So I just picked a year kind of sort of close to his retirement, and I'm going to kind of experiment with it and see if I like how the growth is. And I think that's kind of what you have to do. You just have to dig in, get your feet wet, and don't be afraid to learn as you go.
So when we actually take a look inside of this account, we can see that the money is divided up into that government cash reserve, which we know is where the money goes when we first deposit it into the IRA. And then we can see the money that is actually invested is in the target date retirement account. So when you are adding more money to this IRA, you will hit make a contribution. You'll go through all the steps just like you were transferring money from one bank account to the other. It'll also ask you which year you want to contribute to. We're going to go ahead and choose 2021 because we've already filed our 2020 taxes and we don't want to have to do an amendment. The really cool thing is it'll also help you keep track of how close you are to hitting your max contribution limit. So it'll remind you that your total contribution limit is $6,000 and it will show you how much you've already contributed this year.
So depending on what site you're on, you'll find the button that says invest or buy. And this is where it starts to get confusing and a little overwhelming. overwhelming because you're seeing these hundreds, if not thousands of options. And how are you supposed to know what to choose? So you can simply go to Google and type in a search for a total stock market for whichever company you're at. It's going to pop up with a ticker symbol, which is what you will see in the normal stock market. For this one, it's FSKAX, and we're going to type it into Fidelity. You can start to see all of the details for this total stock market index fund. What this simply means is that you are going to own a little piece of the entire stock market, hence the name total stock market. You can click through and do a little more research into the actual fund itself. You can also see the breakdown of what the actual holdings in the account are. Of course, this one is a total stock market, so you're going to get a little bit of everything, but it will still tell you what are the top 10 holdings. You can see how much of this is domestic, international, how much is bonds, how much is cash, and all of that. I love the idea of the total stock market because it gives you literally the entire stock market right in your pocket. And I love the idea of getting to own a little piece of Amazon, a little piece of Facebook, a little piece of Tesla, and all of the other big name companies. Or say you want to go with a target date retirement fund like we talked about earlier. Simply find that ticker symbol and do the same thing. Once we decide what we actually want to invest in, we'll simply click buy, select buy again, and how much we actually want to invest. So say we want to do $600. This is when you would notice if there was a minimum to invest or not. We'll be buying $600 of this target date 2055 retirement account.
And that's all you have to do.
So I'll be honest, I'm still at the beginning of my own investing journey and I'm still learning myself. Some of the things I'm doing to learn more is I'm following a lot more people in the FIRE community and I'm learning a lot from them. I also recently went through Deli and the Money Coaches Slay the Stock Market course. It was a few $100s and it was worth every single penny. I learned so much from her. I also read The Simple Path to Wealth, which is basically the holy grail of investing and where almost everyone gets their start. So I hope that this video helps you and encourages you to at least get started, to at least start to follow more people, read more books. Don't be afraid to Google. Don't be afraid to jump in and learn as you go. If you want to continue to learn with me as I go throughout my own journey, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. All right, that's all for me today. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye, guys.